So the weather's been pretty uncooperative this week, and I've been waiting for my new tripod to come in before I could go shoot some interviews. On top of that, I'm still waiting for proper contact information for some of the drivers, so they'll be on hold for now. The plan is to make a mobile setup with at least 2 cameras and go out and film at the driver's location. So whether that's in their shop or their garage, someplace that will make them feel more comfortable. If I'm being honest, I still struggle with being comfortable in front of the camera. It's one of those things that takes time and practice to get right, and I know how tough it is to grow that confidence. I'm definitely getting better, but I think these interviews will be a great way to push myself to learn more and develop those skills. By filming at the driver's location, it should bring a little more interesting video, as in not me sitting in here, and something a little bit more comfortable for them. I know that with myself, filming out in public, I have a hard time with it. And I can imagine the same as if somebody goes to go film at somebody else's location, there's that awkward sense of you don't feel comfortable there. So I want to make it as genuine as possible, and I think that'll be a good way to do it. Another thing I'm going to be doing to improve my talking skill is partnering up with the Shifting Through the Gears podcast. I discovered them through the Daily Drift series at US Air in northern Wisconsin and got into contacts with one of the hosts, Keo. We're working on getting me on the show and sometime in the near future. He's really interested in the amount of traveling I do and just some of the local racing we do, like the ice racing. I'm excited to share more with him and hopefully pick up some people from his audience. But whenever the episode is live, I'll have a notice on my Facebook and Instagram, as well as mention it in the video that I post around the same time. Now, let's talk about the cameras I use. Main shooter is the Sony A7 II. It's an old one, released back in November of 2014. You might be wondering why I still use it, and the truth is, I haven't had a solid reason to upgrade. It's got its limitations with video, which is something I want to pursue more, so I will be looking for an upgrade in the future. Being full frame with stabilization, it's definitely a good option even in today's standards. Picture quality is sharp and definitely backed up with good glass. It makes a big difference. Even with the downsides of how much batteries it uses, I end up running a dual battery grip a lot of the time, and I could shoot for a little over 2 hours on one set of batteries. And when I'm going out to shoot and I plan to shoot all day, I usually charge some in my bag or in the truck, and I'll go through 6 or 8 batteries in a day. Granted, video uses batteries a lot more than photos do, but it gets the job done if you plan for it. With that, I will end up upgrading to an A7 III, I think, at some point. It seems like a good option just for its ability to shoot 4K and just newer, less limitations, and also the battery issue is solved on that model. For now, it's still hanging in there, and I'm going to continue to use it. Next up, we got the camera that most of my stuff is filmed on. This is a first generation Sony ZV-1. It's a compact camera, and the thing I love about it is the flip out screen. For framing myself and filming on my own, it definitely makes a big difference on being able to see what I'm shooting. For example, I got this filming on the A7 II, and I have no clue what the framing looks like with me actually sitting here. But this is what the A7 II and the 24-70 I'll talk about later. I will say that all the Sony cameras, they do have a tendency of getting hot after extended shooting, but if you give them airflow or just not steadily shooting video, they don't seem to have too big of a problem. Outside in the wind, I've never had this camera overheat, but recording with the ZV-1 at my desk, I can't get more than half an hour out of recording without having to shut the camera off for a little bit. The battery life, on the other hand, is something I haven't had to worry about. Even in the cold temperatures while we're ice racing, it's been pretty reliable about it, and I've had it overheat once off of the defrost, but I give it that to any camera where you leave it sitting in the defrost, it'll get itself hot. Apart from that, it's something I picked up used, and it does everything I need it to, and it's been a staple to this channel. I also still have my Sony a6000, which, like the a7 II, was released in 2014. I don't use it much anymore, but it's a great backup or secondary camera when I need one. After spending so much time on the a7 II, it's kind of nice to go back to a crop sensor every once in a while. Plan for the batteries running out, it's not bad to go back and have them spares and just plan accordingly, and it works out fine for you. I've commonly ran a portable charger in my bag, and it ends up working out good because by the time you burn up through batteries, 2 more are ready to go. The small rig cage I have on it, it's hard to see because I don't got great lighting in here, but it makes it a little more comfortable to handle. The a6000 or any of the series in the same lineup, they're small. They are really small. It is a blessing and a curse at the same time. This, I don't got big hands by any means, but it's a lot more comfortable with the cage on it, and well, it's a little bit of added protection. I also have a top grip for it. I don't use it often, but it's definitely something to look into. If the small rig cage was still available for the a7 II, I would definitely have one. With how little I do use this now, I still look forward to any time I do get the chance to. I've shot actually some of the video here because it fits where I mount this camera, unlike my a7 II. So I was able to film a little bit of content from here while I didn't have this camera available. I shot weddings on it, and it's an awesome spare. I will recommend that or anything in their lineup as a more compact camera and in some cases more user-friendly. In terms of action cameras, I've been running a GoPro Hero 10 Black. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm not a big fan of how it exposes with the in-car footage, but I do like the way that the stabilization works. I find it works really well, and I'm gonna say the reason why I don't like the way it works is because I don't know how to use it properly. The other side of the spectrum, I got an Insta360 One X 2. Yeah. It's definitely hands down my favorite camera for action cameras that I've used. I've looked into buying a new one in the future since I do like the way that the editing software for Insta360 works. It seems to be easy flowing and very user friendly. You just got to make sure that either one of these cameras are facing the subject, and then you don't get a weird split in the middle of the frame, but otherwise it records, well, like the name implies, 360. Apart from my 2 action cams, some of the footage that's been on the channel has been from Joel's 4K Amazon special camera. That thing, I don't even know what brand it is, but the audio is unusable in any of the footage we've had with it. But for in-car, for cheap, for as easy as it gets, I can't complain because I'm pretty sure he told me it was like $25. Now, this is something that, well, the channel won't probably see. It's a flash. It's something I've used for some portrait work and weddings, and actually a couple long exposures with car photography, but it's not a video tool, so it doesn't get used much, and I have a hard time finding a use for it, but it's still something I think that a photographer should have in their bag. Whether it's a cheap one like this, it's a newer off Amazon, you could get them relatively cheap. Onto some lenses. My go-to lens with the a7 II is the Sigma Art 24-70 2.8. It's super versatile. It's wide enough for indoor shooting, or I do concert photography. It works great for that. And it's just long enough where you could go and get some really good perspective shots on trackside for stuff that's close. Or if you're shooting vertical, it being a wider lens definitely helps to fit a full frame of a car inside the shot. The way it is at a 24mm on a full frame, it's not at the point where it's too wide where the portraits look distorted or like the funny look when you go 0.5 on your phone. If you're looking for something to step up your game, I would strongly recommend that you go for a 24-70 or even a 28-70, but the 2.8 aperture steadily is a game changer, especially for the concert stuff I shoot, and not having to bump my settings around all night. It makes it a lot easier. I could just focus on changing my shutter speed and ISO to compensate for it. For when I need a bit more reach, I switched to my Sigma 100 to 400 mil. I've gotten to the point where I could shoot handheld pan shots at 400 mil, but it is tricky to keep it steady at that focal length. Longer the lens, the harder it is to shoot smoothly, so I decided to invest in a new tripod, and I plan to be shooting video at whatever focal length I see as fit while at the track in the upcoming event. I did shoot lots with it at the ice racing, and any of the trackside video and stuff you see has been shot on it. I was using like the door of my truck to support myself or something like that, and that's not something you always have access to, so I look forward to trying out a new tripod, which is something I'll mention here shortly. The thing that I do like about the 100 to 400 is it's 100 mil is still a wide enough angle where you can shoot inside the pits. You don't need to go back and change lenses right away. If it was a little bit wider, that would be better, but for when you need something that can shoot it all, that seems to do pretty good. And then I could sit quite a ways away from the cars and still capture the action well. Also, shooting handheld, it just takes the practice to be able to shoot with it. The internal stabilization in both the camera and the lens definitely helps out, but it's all possible to do handheld, and I advise you to give it a shot and get the practice in. Now back to the A6000, because I have a Sigma 16mm 1.4 on it. I don't use it much because it is designed for the crop sensor that is in those cameras, so I get a little bit of a vignette when I shoot on the full frame with it. The extra wide aperture makes it ideal for low light, and then being a 16mm on the crop sensor, it comes out to what would be pretty much my 24mm. So on the full frame, most of the time I'll just stick with using my 24-70, as it's technically the same width for how wide the angle of the lens actually goes. Now this here is the lens I would recommend to anybody. It's, well, branded Sony, but granted, there's other manufacturers that make good quality 50 mils. It's a 1.8 prime lens, and for the price, you can't beat it. I would say it's the best bang for your buck. It's sharp, reliable, and perfect for portraits for those who get into that. This is one of the lenses I shot weddings with, and you got to move around a lot, but you can make it happen with the prime lens. I also got the 16 to 50 millimeter kit lens that come with the Sony A6000, and I used to have both the 28 to 70 and 70 to 210, I believe, kit lenses that come with the A7 II, depending on which one you buy, if they come with the lenses. And I upgraded to a Sigma lens because I wanted the steady aperture, and just the better quality glass makes all the difference. Audio, I now got the DJI Mic 2, and it's been awesome for what I've needed so far. I look forward to using it more. I was previously using a set of Godox mics. I don't remember what they are. Don't say on them. But it was working fine with my A7 II, and then I was having complications with this camera, the ZV-1. But the problem was I needed something with a second transmitter for the interview style videos I want to do. And I decided to go with DJI because I know that they're making good stuff. I have some of their other gear, and I definitely look forward to using more of their stuff. For the general recording and not using a lav mic, I have a Rode video mic. Not sure which one. I know it's one of the low end ones, but for the wind guard and just directional audio, it makes a big difference to have that rather than recording on the internal mic of the camera. For tripods and stabilization, I've got my first fluid head tripod, which I look forward to shooting with a high telephoto video and just working with that. I've had the ball head ones in the past, but I know I want to upgrade to a fluid head for video specific use. One I picked up is from SmallRig, so I'm looking into continuing to use their equipment. I also got a Joby GorillaPod that I used lots. It's been what I put this camera on, I set it up, and it works great. It's mobile, I could hook it up anywhere I need to. And with the 360 cam, one of the places I like to do was wrap it around the cage and set it up on there. I also use various GoPro mounts, like this is a GoPro suction mount. I use it lots on the windshield of the car to point towards us, and well, it sticks to my desk and lets me record these. For a little more cinematic action, I ended up taking the money and investing in a DJI Ronin RS4. I previously had a original Zion crane, and after my time shooting with that, I just know that there was better options out there. It wasn't anything bad, it was good. It let me learn gimbal movement and how to balance one. When the RS4 came out, I seen my chance of wanting to do more cinematic style content. Granted, I haven't done much, but I knew that was my opportunity to go buy one, and I have no complaints with it. It actually works with my A7 II and this camera here, which is kind of funny to see such a small camera on the big gimbal. I found it was a bit of a hassle to go out and drag all that equipment out during the winter and try to run stuff with gloves on and without freezing, and I found it was more hassle than it was worth, so I stuck to shooting a lot of handheld. But you might be wondering to yourself, is all this gear necessary? Short answer is no. There's content on this page here, content on my Instagram that's all filmed on nothing but a smartphone. The gear here is just to expand my creative possibilities and not limit them. At the end of the day, content creation's about you. It's your creativity, your perspective, and your ability to tell a story. Always love the feeling of a camera in my hands, and I just want to keep on getting better. There's something rewarding about showing somebody a cool shot of their car or a great moment that they didn't see coming. There's highs and lows of doing this stuff, and there's points where I've seen dust on my cameras from it sitting for so long. But that's changing. I'm committed to finding things to film, to write about, or just keep talking to you. Whether that's me making a video about some new gear I bought, or just something that's been going on. I want to take the time and dedicate to myself as a creator to grow and just keep on pushing to keep making something. Sure, I didn't have any fresh content this week, but I took the time, I wrote a script, and did all this. So I want to be able to take on new challenges without having to think twice about it. So by me recording myself and getting more comfortable in front of the camera and just getting the reps in, it's only going to get better. So I want to keep pushing myself. And if you look at how awkward I was in the first video I posted with me in it, up here, I think I pointed to the right side this time. Very awkward in that, and I feel like it's come a long way since then, and you can see the progress. Growth takes time. It's not about the gear. It's about getting better at what you're doing.